Hello and welcome to AfriDominion. This is Freeman, or welcome to our show. I am Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so much for tuning into our program today. My apologies. It seems like we just had a little bit of a trouble here, so we would have to start all over again. Welcome. Now you can see me. You can see me. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so much for tuning into our program today. For those of you joining us live for the very first time, welcome. We are so thrilled that you can join us today, and it is quite an amazing opportunity to be hanging out with you guys today. And I also want to let you know that for those of you guys who are joining us for the very first time, we do our broadcast in so many languages, including English, and we are driven by truth, love, and trust in everything that we do. And we also ask that you benchmark us. You benchmark us in case we have any errors or providing information that is not accurate. So we would love for you guys to take some time and correct us wherever necessary, because without those corrections, we will find ourselves either being misleading or providing information that is not, that isn't helpful to the rest of our brothers and sisters. And with that in mind, guys, I want to make sure that where you are as well, you get the opportunity to help us out, especially when we have when we are committing some errors or have some things that are not necessarily working towards the betterment of all of us together. And with that in mind, I also want to let you know that for those of you who want to get in touch with us, you can find us on our website, which is www.afridominion.com. www.afridominion.com. Our main email is info@afridominion.com. info@afridominion.com. And with that in mind, guys, I want to give you guys a huge welcome. We just had a glitch, which kind of like took me off base, but I think our team that they got that resolved right away. And today, guys, it's another day, another exciting day. We are on a Friday, January 3rd, here in our studio in the metropolitan area in Washington or Maryland. And the time now it's about 2:06 p.m. And today we have a topic that is very dear to me that we would like to discuss with you guys. And without any further ado, I would like us to jump right through with it, because it is going to take a little bit of energy in order to develop it and to actually have a little bit of meat on that particular topic. So this is what we're going to talk about, or this is what we would like to talk about: Africa's wealth. Is it possible to have natural resources without knowing how to use them? Is it possible to have natural resources without having the knowledge or the know-how? This is one thing that I want to talk to you guys about, because it basically it solidifies some of the issues we're having as Africans, especially right now, where Africa is regarded as one of the poorest continent on planet Earth, when it is the other way around. Africa is one of the wealthiest, stinking rich continent on Africa, on planet Earth. Africa is very rich. And when I say rich, exceedingly rich, above most of the other continents. However, Africans, we are portrayed as the poorest of the poorest of the poorest of the poorest. And also, evidently, oftentimes you find so many countries coming through our nations to either help us out, especially giving us some of the basic things like food, the very basic needs. Most of the Africans right now are struggling to obtain them. And the questions become why? Why are we not able to feed ourselves? Yet we are one of the wealthiest continent on planet Earth. That's one of the questions that I would like to bring it to you today, as we discover a little bit of the wealth of Africa. When I said the wealth of Africa, it includes every African, wherever it is that you are, because this is Africa is one people, but we have been sliced into so many parts so that we can become dysfunctional. For more than 400 plus years, Africa has been plundered, both physically, emotionally, and through the natural resources. More than 400 years. However, Not only we are a resilient people, but we also are going towards going back to what we used to be. Because who we are, it's in us. It's built in. We don't have to go borrow it outside, guys. And because of that, I want to submit to you that the time is now. The time is now for us to actually utilize all our natural resources. Hence, me asking you the question, would you have a tool without the knowledge on how to use it? Would a manufacturer create a tire, as an example, without the purpose of a tire? Would a vehicle has a room or a spot for a tire without the need for the tire? Can African be sitting on gold, on coltan, on diamond, on uranium without the knowledge of using all those natural resources? Guys, it is impossible. We would not be in Africa as a people, dark skinned people, and not have the knowledge of utilizing all that is in Africa. It is impossible. Now, I'll submit to you that one of the things that have been taking place every time your gifts opens up. In other words, when you become aware that you have a rare gift, you find yourself leaving Africa. Other nations, they have programs that are sorely there to observe and to seek out people whose gifts are ready. And when I talk about gifts, these are the natural abilities that you have that you never have to go to school for. For example, schools can never give a diploma, can never give any license to a woman to bear a child. Naturally, a woman can have a child as long as she's ovulating and she has sex while while the egg is still alive. Inevitable, a woman is going to conceive. And 9 months afterwards, a baby is going to come. There's not a single university that can certify a woman to have a child. Not one single one of them. Naturally, conception for a female, it's natural. Often use birds. There's never been any university that gives birds the license to fly. No diploma whatsoever. Flight is built in to birds. Fish can swim without any license from any entity around the globe. Yet, none of us as human beings are being encouraged to give birth to our God-given gifts, our natural gifts. Specifically now, Africans, we have so many gifts. But because of the history of enslavement and slavery, the majority of Africa have literally closed down. Our gifts have been buried deep within us, deep inside of us. And for the few whose gifts decided to just pour out, we are quickly taken away from all our homelands and taken outside of Africa to become beneficial to other races except our own people. And I'm wondering, why is it? Why is it that every time a brilliant African emerges, we cannot retain them? We cannot keep them in Africa. Other nations are so quick to grab you and take you outside of your family. Do we not see any problem, anything wrong with that picture? In this 2025 and going beyond, I would love that we actually learn the formula for waking up our gifts. There is a formula, guys. You can awaken your gifts. You don't have to go to Cambridge. You don't have to go to MIT. You do not have to go to any one of these prestigious universities to know what your gift is or to awaken your gifts. Now, they can tell you what you can do to get to your gifts, but they can never give you your gifts. This is one thing that's like almost, I don't want to say a scam, But the world has made sure that Africans specifically, your gifts stays buried. You can die with your gifts, and your gifts will never become useful to you. They can never become useful to others. Yet you have lived on planet Earth, but you died poor, you died hungry, and you died miserable. Right now, as the technology continues to emerge, we see electric vehicles, for example. The whole entire world is busy building new technologies. And guess what? Africa is the destination to get to extract all those natural resources. Everybody except African themselves are positioning themselves to extract minerals from Africa. And I'm wondering what is wrong with us Africans. There are policies specifically prohibiting African themselves to extract their own raw material. And I'm wondering who set up those policies. There's so much imbalance within Africa and within African community that we have to uproot so much of it in order for us to move on forward. Earlier, in another language, I gave an example which I would love to share with you guys. Right now, in the United States, we are told that the United States debt is more than $24 trillion. Listen to me. Right now in 2025, the US debt, public debt, is more than $24 trillion. There's one country in Africa, one nation in Africa that can write off the entire United States debt overnight. And that country is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Listen again. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's wealth can not only write off the entire United States debt, but the rest of the world's debt. However, you will never hear anybody saying that the Democratic Republic of the Congo is that wealthy. Yet we have more than 100 arms fighting in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. When I say armed groups, to be specific, they have ravaged the country for more than 30 plus years. Now, this is only one country I'm using as an example. The whole entire Africa is wealthy, but Africans are prohibited in one way or the other to utilize their God-given natural resources. Why in the world would you flee a nation that can write off a $24 trillion debt and run towards outside of it? Imagine the odds of you just getting out. Either you don't know about it or you don't think you are that valuable. There are policies today that keep on telling Africans to run away from Africa, mainly because we have warfares, what I was talking about yesterday. As long as bombs are falling off of you, you don't want nothing to do with the environment that's flooding with guns, with bombs, with bullets. Nobody wants that. You can never have development while you still have wars. So one of the best things that's been happening to outsiders who want to impoverish Africa and African family is to make sure that wars continues nonstop. The last time I checked, a lot of all these conflicts within Africa and outside of Africa, meaning on the continent of Africa specifically, and the islands surrounding Africa, but also away from the continent. But sticking with the continent right now, all the conflicts, the war conflicts that we have, all the groups that are fighting, they're not fighting using water. They're fighting using all these weapons of mass destruction. And Africa doesn't create any of them. Somehow these weapons, they grow legs and they grow wings and they make it all the way to Africa. Specifically, going back to the example of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. For more than 30 years, millions and millions and millions and millions of Congolese have perished, have died. And today in 2025, they continue to die. Why? Because everybody wants a piece of the natural resources within the Democratic Republic of the Congo. One of many nations that have so much natural resources. Yet, collateral, atrocities, inhumane conditions taking place every single day. You never get to hear of it because there are no images that make it through. Even the few images that are making through, oftentimes those journalists are being sanctioned, others are being killed, others are being attributed to some crimes that they have now committed, and the rest of them are being taken to jail. It is about time that us Africans drive our own narrative. It is about time that we use the same natural resources and the technology to better ourselves. We must be able to document a lot of these atrocities, all these impeding situations that are keeping us from becoming truly who we are supposed to be as sons and daughters of Africa, with the capacity to feed the entire world using the natural resources that we have been rightfully given by the Almighty. So going back to the knowledge, we do have the knowledge, but it's dormant. How do we awaken the dormant knowledge in order for us to actually benefit from all these natural resources and all these things that we have as Africans? This is now the question that should be driving every single one of us. Tell me why an outsider flies thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles or kilometers coming to a land that is not his or hers naturally and get to tell you more about what's in the land than you know yourself. How is that even possible? Somebody somewhere have spoken so that that knowledge transfer is given to the outsiders. Otherwise, it is impossible that me, who have no idea what's in Japan, I can specifically go to a very specific place and take advantage of it when the Japanese themselves have no idea what's there. So we already have the knowledge about so much of our wealth as Africans. However, those entrusted with the knowledge, those who have been passing around the knowledge generations after generations, some of them have landed or have made it through the wrong hands. And they extracted the knowledge out of them, killed them, and then appropriated the knowledge themselves. Now, one thing that keeps on emerging, when we see, for example, the pyramid technologies, you see, pyramid is all up in your face. You cannot destroy a pyramid, even though they've tried. There have been some pyramid that have been destroyed, but you still see pyramid standing. What kind of technology built pyramid such that the whole thing can actually not only visibly be seen, but also have air inside of those pathway within the pyramids, without some sort of machine and technology that we know of today that becomes conducive to that. That is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of technology back in the days. We have the knowledge that is ancient, that actually have been used, that's being used against us as Africans today. We are sent to school to be dumb and dumberer, to keep us slaves, to keep you in a slave capacity, in a mental thinking that is literally designed to keep you as a good slave, as an obedient servant, to keep you from being curious about your true gifts from within you, to keep you from poking around to all that is boiling within you. We have the knowledge, guys, today in 2025, but it's dormant. So what good is the dormant knowledge if you're not using it? What good is it if you won't know how to open it? I gave an example earlier of a lock. I have a lock here, which requires a very specific combination in order for it to open. Unless I know the combination of the lock, I may spend a whole year without being able to open this lock, or even indefinitely. But at least there is 9,099 different times I can actually attempt to open this lock. So it would take me 9,999 times for me to actually figure out the true combination of it. But imagine all that time while I'm trying to figure out the combination, someone who already knows the combination, it only takes as long as I can key in these numbers to have it open. Africans, you have God-given knowledge hidden inside of you, entrusted with you to utilize for the betterment of planet Earth. Being as generous as you can be, or sometimes when you are being cornered, to give up the key, the combination key of your knowledge. And that knowledge get to be extracted out of you and you are left dead. We have to get to a new era where we start protecting ourselves. Hence, my topic from yesterday, or the conversation we had yesterday, when I say that we cannot have any progress without having our own means of protection, without have the means of our own military. All other groups around the world can protect themselves except Africans. Self-defense is one of the important things to have in order for us to actually move forward to utilizing our natural resources to the betterment of our families as Africans, first and foremost. Why would the whole world, the entire world, keep Africans from having the ability to protect themselves? Yet, all the raw materials required to create these weapons are coming from Africa, mostly. Are you mean to tell me that Africans cannot produce weapons themselves? That's impossible, guys. You can never have a tool without the knowledge to utilize that same tool. God would never have allowed you to be an African, to give you all these natural resources without depositing the ability, the knowledge for you to utilize the same resources, the same natural resources. I want to submit to you that the knowledge is there, but it's locked. So you need to get busy figuring out what is the combination key for the knowledge that's hidden inside of you. I repeat, you need to be busy figuring out what is the combination key of the knowledge hidden inside of you. This is one of the gifts that I wish to share with you guys. Unless you know the combination key of your knowledge, you are never going to have access to the gifts within you. The combination key is there to maintain the integrity of the knowledge from falling in the wrong hands. But we know today that inhumane conditions exist where things like torture are utilized against people to give up information, to give up knowledge, to transfer knowledge by force. For millennia, for centuries, Africans have been forced to give up the knowledge, to give up the technology that the world is using today. We know that to be true. If you do not have a tool under your sleeve, why would you even have the knowledge of that same tool when you don't even know that the tool exists? So Africans, wherever that wherever that you are, we must be able to rebuild ourselves. I keep on talking about unity. It's imperative that we reunify as Africans. We rebuild our unity as Africans. With that unity, and we rebuild our own defense as Africans. The same way right now, you just cannot, for example, come to the United States just like that. People still come to the United States. Don't get me wrong. It is not 100% proof. However, generally, the only way for you to come to the United States, you gotta come through the public, the public ports, the official doorways to the United States. But there are those who enter United States not through the official doorways to the United States, which is what they call illegal entry to the United States. Africa has been experiencing illegal entries from the rest of the world. Africa has never been respected up to this very moment. We continuously experience illegal entries, especially illegal entries of weapons. Again, I want to go back to the example that I gave you of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. According to the United Nations, more than 100 warring groups are fighting in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. My first question is, how are they able to fight without weapons? Why are they picking the Democratic Republic of the Congo as the theater grounds for fighting? How many foreigners are fighting alongside with these warring groups? Where are they getting the equipment? One of the biggest reasons why, for more than 30 years, the Democratic Republic of the Congo continues to experience wars and atrocities and abuses of all kinds and inhumane conditions towards the people, and genocide that hasn't been publicly acknowledged, yet has to be acknowledged globally. That is because the wealth of the Congolese soil, the wealth of the Congolese as a country. And for those of you who are driving, for example, the new gadgets, the new electric vehicles, for example, did you know that most of it is coming from the Congo? From natural resources like cobalt, copper, lithium, diamond, I mean, tin, tantalum, gold, uranium, platinum. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has it all. When I say that the Democratic Republic of the Congo can write off the United States debt overnight, that's how much wealth that just one little teeny country, but it's not that teeny, one country on the entire continent of Africa can do that overnight. That's how much wealth that nation has. Now think about the rest of the Africa continent. No wonder we have these never-ending wars within Africa. No wonder they keep you from developing yourselves. No wonder you're being poisoned. Before the United States was a nation, how were Africans living? Before France, before UK, before China, before a lot of these modern powerful nations existed, how were Africans living their own lives? Africa used to be an empire, and then it got sliced to a few empires. And then in 1892, I think, somewhere within 1890s, the Berlin Conference foreigners realize that, you know what, Africa is exceedingly rich. We need to figure out a way to actually appropriate all its natural resources. And before that, Africans have been taken as slaves to go service elsewhere around the world. Africans were not regarded as human beings. We were regarded as another natural resources on two legs. Listen to me, guys. Even up to this very day, there are those who have the audacity to say that you, as an African, you are not a human being, a full-blown human being. I want to give you a reference. Go to one of the constitutions, where you will find that a black person is two-thirds a human being. Literally, guys, two-thirds of a human being. That's you, an African. In the eyes of some people, that you are only two-thirds an actual human being, which means you're really not a human, you're really not a full human being. So if when you get killed, it's just like killing an ant, just like killing a chicken. They don't feel bad killing you. They don't feel bad poisoning you. They don't feel bad uprooting your livelihood. They do not feel bad taking you out of your homeland. Because after all, you are two-thirds of a human being. Now, why in the world would someone who looks just like you, same physiology, make you believe or make you think that you are a two-thirds of a human being? And for some of us, we bought into the idea. Whereas to the degree that we have stigma that gets passed on through generations after generations after generations, that we are not good to ourselves. Guys, we cannot go to schools, fancy schools, that tells you that you are two-thirds of a human being. You cannot go and give the education to your children to schools that do not acknowledge you as another brilliant person. You cannot go to a school that teaches you how to be lazy instead of awakening your gifts. You cannot go to a school that hides the knowledge that you need to unlock, the knowledge hidden inside of you. What good is it for you to run to these fancy schools, but only come out being Damara and Damara? We have to take responsibilities of our own lives, Africans, especially in 2025 and beyond. We have all these natural resources at our disposal. Everybody's have a long arm that just takes and takes and takes and takes as it pleases. They take and take and take and take, except you and I. What's wrong with that picture? And after all, that's your inheritance. That's my inheritance. So I want to submit to you guys that unless we change the rhetoric, unless we change the status quo, unless we change the path that we are headed on, we will never be able to awaken the gifts from within ourselves that allows us to tap into these natural resources and utilize them to solve our daily problems, to create opportunities for our families and the rest of the world. You will not learn that in any one of these Ivy League schools, because it's not the priority to unlock the gifts from within you. Because if you unlock the gifts from within you, you will no longer export any of our natural resources. And then you'll make it a little bit difficult for them to have access to it. Tell me why right now a wealthy nation like the Congo struggle to have a bridge, very decent bridges. They have some, but they still have a very poor infrastructure. It is not because they don't have the material. They have more than enough material to do that. In fact, they've been servicing the rest of the world to build their own bridges, except their own national bridges. That's one of the examples that I'm just taking. So how is it that you're responsible for others' wealth? except yourself. And that's when you know that there's something wrong with the picture that you have been sold. There's something wrong with the picture that you have appropriated, that you have accepted to be your true picture. Unless you change your true picture yourself, you are going to continuously mistaken yourself for someone that you are not. A lion, no matter how much you can masquerade a lion is always going to be a lion. You can put on a sheep cloth so that he hangs out with the sheep, but truly inside of it, it's a lion. An African, no matter how dumb and dumberer that they want you to be, you are still the most brilliant creatures on planet Earth, with the ability and with the knowledge and with the secrets ready to unlock all the mysteries of life we have on planet Earth today. That is you, that is me. However, unless you deliberately unlock the gifts from within you and bring them out, you are going to die poor. You are going to die exactly the way they say you are. And we must be able to say no today. We must be able to say no to all the naysayers. You got to be able to retrain your mind, to rise up on your vibration, to rise up in your own standing, to do that which you rightfully must do, to contribute to the betterment of the African family and the rest of the world. Guys, this is a new era. This is a new era. All these natural resources, I dream of a day that we will have a moratorium on every single natural resources that African holds. In another world, all the nation or the nations that rely on Africa's natural resources to better themselves and also to resell the same natural resources after it has been processed back to Africa, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000% the value that it originally had. They will go hungry overnight. That is why countries like France, all these small nations in Europe, or even here in the United States, they must have some sort of access to Africa, unlimited access to Africa, so they can continuously feed themselves. And that is going to be a conflict of interest, guys. When we awaken, when we wake up and realize that, hey, hold up. Yes, we have allowed you to have to some of these natural resources. But you know what? We're no longer sharing. We want to better ourselves. There is going to be a war. Because nations that have gotten used to helping themselves out of our own inheritance will not just let go of that which they have been accustomed to taking freely without anybody policing them. But I do believe this is our time as Africans to utilize all our natural resources for the betterment of African family, first and foremost. I gave an example of North Korea earlier. You know, the international community have fought so hard to keep North Koreans from developing nuclear weapons. Even though they have it, but they've done everything possible to prohibit and to keep them from having the technology. Now, at first I wonder, like, why is it that is okay for a very specific nation to have nuclear weapons, but the rest of the world not having the access to the nuclear weapons? And I realize in the end of it, it boils down to being selfish. It boils down to wanting to be the police, to bully everybody else. It boils down to enslaving others except yourself. Because when you have a nuclear weapon and I only have a butt, you can tell me what to do. You can bully me. You can police me around. You can do all that you pleases. But the minute I have a nuclear weapon and you have a nuclear weapon, you're not just going to come in as you please. No wonder the North Koreans, they've been working hard to have the same technology as the likes like the United States, like France, like UK, like Russia, like China. You know, South Africa, there was a time that South Africa was developing nuclear weapon, but this so-called G5, they were like, no, 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 ease up with that technology. We will give you, we are going to give you help in this area and that area. In exchange, you stop that which you are doing. And as I grow, I started realizing that how can we be that stupid or that dumb? I'm sorry, I'm not being insulting, guys, but I'm thinking out loud. Why in the world would someone tell you that, hey, listen, instead of you sharpening your fishing skills, forget this, man, forget it. I'm gonna go and fish for you. I'll give you as many fish as many times as you want. Is that love? Is that caring? Or that's something else? They always say if you feed a person, basically when you try when you try to feed a person, you feed them for as long as you can sustain them. If you feed them the lessons of how to feed themselves, they can feed themselves as many times as they can without you being there. Africa, we must get back to the business of feeding ourselves instead of allowing someone to go fish and give you some leftover. We must get back in the business of awakening our gifts so that we can tap into all our resources to utilize them in any way we see fit. And if necessary, guys, there is a necessity to get out of these groups that police our will, our intent. Because if you're policing my will, my intent, I am never going to be the very best version of myself. Africa has joined all these groups, all these international groups, not for the betterment of Africa, but for the Africa to stay in check. Because these nations, they tell, hey, listen, no, 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 you're not supposed to do that. In fact, you're prohibited to do that. What do you want? You want food? We'll bring in you food. We don't even want you to learn how to farm. We will go, we have this machine that can actually create food overnight. We'll bring it to you. What we call genetically modified food. We don't want you to learn how to farm. We want you, in fact, we want you to forget the skills of farming because we have this beautiful, amazing machine that can create food overnight and we give it to you. What kind of mercy, what kind of goodness, what kind of benevolent is that? Why would you put your life in somebody else's hands for the purpose of them policing you, manipulating you, and ruling over you? You see what is happening and you still go for it. If I ever get a chance to ask our forefather or our ancestors why in the world they accepted to flip, they accepted to become enslaved by the rest of the world, I would love that opportunity to ask. Africa has been enslaved for so many centuries, yet we are one of the most brilliant races on planet Earth. We have been enslaved. We are continuously being enslaved right now, yet we hold the key to the knowledge that the planet Earth has. We know that, guys. This is nothing you can get out of our heads. And Talking like this, I know it scares most of you, but you shouldn't be afraid. Certain knowledge, if it isn't yours, just give up already. But we know you won't give up like that easily. But I believe we can do some good if we clean up our own environment as Africans. We can do some good if we assume our responsibility for self-protection. We can do our goods. We can do good to the rest of the planet, even beyond the planet, if we can reassert ourselves with our God-given knowledge and actually take our rightful position as leaders on planet Earth to do that which is right. I know it is not for some who have enjoyed or who believe that they are the better or they are the most powerful on this planet Earth. This is not the language that they would want us to speak as Africans. But this is a different era. There's not a single human being on planet Earth who will not die at some point or the other. Even the most powerful nations cannot live forever. Every single human being who is born also must die. That's just the deal that we have on planet Earth. So why would you not maximize your full potential, your full capacity while you living on planet Earth? Why would you not unlock the key, unlock the lock that holds the knowledge, the gifts from within you to utilize or to allow your families to utilize as we better ourselves on planet Earth? Why would you fight off? Why would you poison us? Why would you enslave or take hostage a collective or a group of people whose gifts are ready to be utilized just because you do not want to be last? You do not want to be to look like you're inferior. Guys, all this that we are talking about, we have to become fearless. There's not a single weapon on planet Earth that was never manufactured, that was never conceived by a human mind. And because somebody thought of it and brought it to life, it can be repeated many, many, many times. Do not be afraid. Do not be managed by weapons, by fear. Even though it has worked for a few centuries, but we have to be able to say no today and going forward. There's so much to do on planet Earth that just leaving with all that wisdom, with all that knowledge, and back to the cemetery, it is the most offensive thing you can do for humankind. It is the most selfish thing that you can do to another humankind. Dying with all the gifts from within you without tapping into it, without at least living into the rest of the humankind to utilize it. All because someone wants to be powerful than the other. Please do not be amongst the people who are perishing with knowledge that planet Earth needs, that our family needs to better ourselves and to better the rest of the world. It is unconscionable that you would actually seek out people with gifts and kill them so long as they're not part of your team. It is unconscionable that you go and you wipe out families, you wipe out people because you want to take over their lands. Good example here in the United States. What happened to the Aboriginals? Why are the natives in concentration camps, in reservation? Because they were killed. The land the United States is occupying right now used to be owned by the Native Americans, but they were wiped out. A genocide against the Aboriginal, the Native Americans, up to this very day. It's never recorded in public paperwork, but we know that genocide has taken place. The same way genocide has taken place to all other four continents. The same way that today in Africa, we experience genocide over and over and over again, with most recently genocide in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Over what? Natural resources. And there's nobody to be blamed of it. Look at the war in Ukraine right now. What is it about, guys? What is that war about? Is there any relationship of what is happening in Ukraine and what is happening in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? Is there any relationship of what is happening in Sudan and what is happening in Mozambique? There's so much that is happening. There's so many signs of the season that we are in today. Unless you decide to open up and to see using your true eyes, not the fake eyes, you are going to be blind for life. But then let that not be you in 2025 and beyond. Let's call the world for what it is. If someone is harming you, do not be polite saying that they're harming you. If Africa is being killed publicly and openly, let us not be afraid to say that Africa is being killed openly and publicly. We have evidence. We have evidence. And now also let's start fighting our brothers and sisters who are colluding with foreigners who are killing us today, who are colluding in plundering our natural resources, who are colluding in ensuring that the knowledge that we have, especially those who are ready to share it, cannot share with their own families. We do have enemies amongst ourselves who are colluding with foreigners, with outsiders, to keep us enslaved. So there is a war that is inevitable. There is a fight that is inevitable to every single one of us. So you might as well prepare yourself mentally, because there's nowhere you are going to seek out freedom without fight. Africa would never develop itself without a fight. Africa would never be able to utilize its own natural resources without a fight. When you have nations that come in and get someone to sign a contract of 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, that's like generations after generations. What are they telling you? Why would you sign a contract over natural resources for 100 years, 200 years? You won't even be alive to see that contract through. But you have the audacity to sign it because you just been given a little bit of money. You're selling out the rest of your collective, the rest of your people. We have people like that today. We have governments in Africa like that today. And that is why I am for literally like toppling a lot of these governments. If they're not serving in the interest of African family, if they're not serving in the interest of our own people, they must go. But again, there has to be some way to get it done. Remember, we don't have a means to protect ourselves. So let's create a means to protect ourselves first and foremost. And let's create the rules to protect ourselves, because right now rules have been utilized and laws have been utilized to actually enslave us and make sure that we will forever stay enslaved. There are laws that keep us from venturing into technology, for example. There are laws that keeps you from learning who you truly are, because they're limiting you, they're checking you. These laws are not put in for the love of you as an African. They are put there to maintain your enslavement. So there is a necessity that we self-audit ourselves as Africans. Everything that doesn't benefit us, we must get rid of it. Remember, Africa is for Africans. Everybody else who's not an African is a visitor. Nothing wrong with visiting, but don't come in and police Africans over African resources, because that is what's been happening for many centuries. But at some point, we have to man up. We have to woman up and take back that which is rightfully ours. I know you hate this kind of rhetoric, but we have to be able to follow through one way or the other. It's inevitable. Because I never understand, if you don't have the expertise, the knowledge, the know-how, why are you insisting in being the leader in the area of expertise that you have no knowledge of? Why are you willing to kill, steal, and lie so that you can extract that knowledge and appropriate it yourself instead of yielding to the rightful person to maintain that? I never understand that. So I want to submit to you, brothers and sisters, that all these natural resources that we have, we also have the knowledge on how to utilize it. That I know for sure. And I also want to submit to you that you don't need to go outside of Africa to seek out training. You still have training within Africa. That is a fact. Mark my words. But we want to fight those who are prohibiting you to unlock that gift, to unlock that knowledge, unless they're policing it. We have to be able to protect our own so that when it's time to unlock that knowledge, we can unlock it without the fear, without any fear, without any retaliation, without worrying that you will be killed. We got to be able to protect ourselves. We got to be able to protect our natural resources. We got to be able to protect our homeland. The same way all these other nations outside of Africa are protecting themselves. We have to bring apples to apples. Everything has to be leveled up. But unless you take part in it, it is not going to be done by itself. So I want to end. I want to end with this, guys. You cannot have a tool without the knowledge of utilizing it. It's impossible. Africa and Africans are in Africa because we are the one who possess the knowledge of utilizing all the natural resources that there is in Africa and some more. No matter how much Dumb and Dumberer you may convert, you may push, you may insist that Africa can become or remain, that knowledge is still going to be unlocked inside of us. Yes, you may have access to some of it because someone has given you the combination key. But truth be told, you will not be able to unlock the full knowledge of Africans without allowing Africans themselves to unlock it willingly. And therefore, there's so much that isn't being done today on planet Earth because certain individuals have not allowed the people with the right position to do so. So I want to plead with you, brothers and sisters, assume your position as leaders, assume your position as the rightful combination holder of the locks of the knowledge of human beings, of humankind. There's so much knowledge that we have, but because certain individuals have decided to police that knowledge, have decided to appropriate that knowledge, there is knowledge that can never be open because it's in the wrong hands. Also, I want to encourage you to get back in speaking your native tongues. There are certain combinations, certain locks that can only be opened by your native tongues. I know I don't have time to get into this, but I want to submit to you that that's one of the things that most of you are not aware of. If you do not know how to open your lock, you will never be able to know what's inside of the lock. Sometimes the language, it's the combination key of a very specific gift that you're looking to access. So never, 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 never uh, force yourself to lose a language that's been rightfully given to you, that's been passed on to you generations under generations after generations after generations. Never lose your language just because of stigma. I know today, for example, there are certain places where you can go, and if you cannot speak a a British English, for example, you won't get in. If you cannot speak an American English, you won't get in. If you cannot speak a proper French from France, you won't get in because they look at you through the lenses. Hey, this person is ours. This person is not ours. But the same is true also. There are certain gifts, certain knowledge you cannot unlock without speaking the proper language. Because when you speak the proper language, it unlocks the knowledge itself. That's something you're never going to hear from any universities or high schools because that knowledge is supposed to be hidden knowledge, but we know we have it and we appropriate it and we are using it. But I also would want you guys to know it, as many of you as possible, because certain locks can only work when you actually become your truly self. All these natural resources that we possess, they are waiting for us to unlock our true knowledge, to utilize them. When you are in the proper standing, every natural resource that we have in Africa will just be truly, it'll become one with you. It'll become one with us. And this is the time that we can actually make that happen, so long as we are willing. It's possible, guys. You can write the books on how to unlock a lot of the knowledges that we possess right now. Many books remain to be written with all new kinds of technology that can propel us beyond where we can conceive right now. We have that knowledge right now, which is why there are some of these secretive laboratories that are there tapping into a lot of these brilliant people. Why is it that you see a lot of autism right now? There's so much autism, especially amongst African families. Why do we have autism today? Have you ever wondered that? Do you know what happened to a lot of these autistic children? That's a story of another day. In any case, I want to say that Africa's wealth is very much ours to manage, ours to utilize, ours to actually to convert from one item to another. But unless you're willing to put yourself in the right position, it is not going to benefit the rest of our family, the rest of the world. So I want you to think about what you are going to do to enable another African, to enable another person outside of Africa to benefit from this knowledge. And I will plead with you guys to also put some mechanism necessary in order for us to safely utilize this knowledge. The year is now and beyond where we have to actually come out of the woodwork and use this knowledge publicly. We have the knowledge, guys. And I want to let you know that you don't need to boast around. You don't need to boast that you have this and you have that. Just get busy. Get busy doing the work that you must do. Get busy healing yourself. Get busy becoming a true engineers. Get busy becoming the true chemist. Get busy becoming that which you already are, guys. The same way a woman can conceive under the right conditions. This is possible today in 2025. You do not need to go to MIT. You do not need to go to Cambridge. You do not need to go to Johns Hopkins or any one of these fancy universities to learn the techniques. They need to learn the technique themselves. And that's why they keep an eye on any Africans whose brilliance is beyond what they can teach in school. That's why they keep on the lookout, or anybody who can mistakenly show that they have gifts, and you extract it out of your community. But now let's intentionally create a community where we can protect ourselves. So you never have to worry about being taken outside of your community because all of a sudden we just realize that you are not a normal kid, a normal person. You've got these gifts that need to be tapped into. Know that you have the gifts and decide where to use your gifts, and decide when and how and who to use your gifts with. Because after all, there are certain gifts that will never work if you leave where you are. Mark my words. It is not by mistake that we were born in Africa. It is not by mistake that certain knowledge, certain information, certain natural resources are only in Africa. The minute you remove them out of Africa, they would not serve the same purpose as they would if they were in Africa. That's another knowledge that you must know. Not everything needs to be moved. There are certain things that when you move it will never work because they're outside of where they're supposed to be. They are outside of the rightful position. Guys, I told you this year we are going to drop the most important knowledge that you have never heard of before. Some of you have heard of it, but you've never seen it with your own two hands and witness that it actually works. I want you to be fearless and actually come out of your shelves. Open your gifts, guys. Open your knowledge and share it with the rest of the family. Share it with the rest of the world. The time is now. And I want to tell you that we have to prepare ourselves so we can protect ourselves as well. Gone are the days where you're going to get poisoned because of the brilliance in your mind. Gone are the days where we are going to allow our people to perish knowingly that we are being targeted because of what we possess. I told you that Africa is headed towards an extinction, and I wasn't bluffing, guys. If we're not careful, we are going to become extinct. The same way the Native Americans became extinct. If we are not careful, we are going to find ourselves in reservations, the same way Native Americans live in reservations land today. I know some of you have never heard of things like a reservation. But here in the United States in 2025, we have a group of natives, those who used to own the land, the entire land of the United States, who have been moved from the rightful position and put in reservation. I usually call them zoo because many of them were killed, ushering another race of people to move in, to take over that which was theirs. It's no secret. So I'm not ashamed to publicly say it, even though that's a conversation that usually brings shame and stigma. But we know it has happened. And it just didn't happen here in the United States only. It has happened in Africa. It has happened all over planet Earth. But now Africa is the new breed of people who are being literally killed. Africa is being swept. African population is being swept, just like the Native American was swept years back. Let us not allow that to happen. And in order to protect ourselves, we've got to be intentional in all domains of lives, especially medicine, especially medicine, especially food. Food and medicine are some of the very sensitive domain of our lives that we have to have a full control ourselves. Anytime you're feeding yourself with genetically modified food that you have no idea what's in it, how will you know whether you're feeding yourself poison or something else? I want you guys to start to research what's been happening with a lot of vaccinations. Scary stuff, guys. We used to talk about it before we were graciously given another antenna where we will get cut off when we were discussing certain knowledge. Why? Because the enemy doesn't want you to become aware that you are perishing today. The enemy doesn't want you to become aware that there are all kinds of schemes with the purpose of exterminating us slow by slow. So do not be the one who is going to just feed yourself poison and feed it your family, feed it to your community, just because you were given a few $1 million or a few £1 million, a few million shilling. Let us not be those kind of people who are selling out the rest of our family at large. So I know, guys, sometimes we are scaring you, but we also want to be true to ourselves. This conversation is not meant to foment division, is meant to awaken your mind. It is meant to agitate your thought process so you can see clear what is happening. It is meant to shed the light towards the darkness that is surrounding us and our families. There's nowhere we are going to be killed publicly and we shut up about it. It is unconscionable that someone is going to gun for you and then you're just gonna be like this and you let it be. That is unconscionable, guys. Let us not be those kind of people who become bystanders while the rest of our families are perishing, are being destroyed purposely. Let us not be you. Let us not be me. And that is why we have decided that this kind of conversation is going to become public. We have been discussing this privately. We have been discussing this on very specific channels, but we believe that the time is now that we actually now publicly share the information to the rest of our family at large, and also the rest of the world that is willing to listen and that is willing to also verify that the information we are sharing it's actually accurate. But also, anytime we may give the information that is not fully accurate, give us the opportunity to correct it. Because there will be times where we might actually feed you the information that is not fully on point. But one thing I want to assure you, we are going to do the very best that we can to share with you good and right information that you need. Be it me or the rest of the teams that you are going to see as time come by. There's so much, guys. There's so much to do, so much to share. But in addition to that, we are going to actually now take the seat of control of our lives. We are going to assume the responsibilities of our life. And I want to invite you to be a part of that. And do not be afraid, because being afraid is actually allowing someone else to police you, to police your life, to police your destiny. You cannot allow someone who doesn't know you to police your destiny to that degree. It is unconscionable. And let that not be you. And so, with that in mind, guys, I got to move on to another assignment. And I want to, should I read a little bit? Let me see first. Let me read it a little bit and see. Okay. I see there are quite a lot of comments. I'm gonna read them offline, guys. I'm gonna read them offline because I only have just a few minutes left, and I promise you that I'm going to respond to every single one of you guys who send some comments, so that I can be able to actually share with you what I can, what I have to say about your questions here. But one thing that I want to encourage you is that during this new season, this new era, be courageous, guys. Your life is not just your life. Your knowledge is not just your knowledge. You just happen to be the guardian of your knowledge. And you happen to have been entrusted with the knowledge. So do us right. Be right with us. Do not leave this planet holding back that knowledge that has been trusted to you to deliver to us, so we can actually become better version of ourselves as a people. So I want to let you know that one of the things you are going to find is certain work, certain project publicly being utilized for the betterment of our communities. Certain knowledge being shared with you in order for you to find the key of the questions that you have. We have the solutions of a lot of issues, a lot of problems. But now we want to be able to share with the right people, with the right families. There's no reason for you to go buy certain knowledge when we already know that we have it. Know the right people, know those who got the combination keys of the information that you need, that you have today. Join forces with them so that you can do that which you must do. Unless you join with the right with you join with the correct people, your knowledge will be useless. But when you're in the right position with the right people, under the right resources, it is inevitable that which you possess, together with the knowledge, together with the natural resources, will inevitably propel us to become a better version of ourselves. It not only is going to develop us, it is going to actually also give the solution to the problems we have been waiting for. The year is now that we have to actually become selfless and get on board with that. So with that in mind, guys, I'm Freeman Singirankabo here at AfriDominion. I'd like to wish you a beautiful, beautiful evening. Those of you who are going to sleep, good morning to those of you who are just waking up. And I wish you a super fantastic day. Those who are still during the daytime, like here in the United States. Until next time, I want to wish you a super fantastic day. May peace be with you guys.